former Fulton County District Attorney and Sheriff.
Formerly a judge, and he knows a little bit about how these things go.
From Mohawk Valley, legal eagle, lawman.
He is the Sheriff of Fulton County, New York. Just such an amazing guy.
This is the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet.
Hey, welcome, folks. You're listening to the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet. Today, we have Jenna, our area researcher of cold cases and of missing persons cases, and we have a special edition. We're going to talk to you about the Adirondack Park. It's the largest park in the country. It's 6 million, the national park. It's 6 million acres. It's got 46 peaks, and for those who are familiar with it, you can hike every peak and you become a 46er. It's got over 105 towns in it, 2,800 lakes, and countless miles of streams and rivers. Very interesting area. We're going to talk about some missing cases. We're going to talk about some murder cases. We're going to talk about different people that have been found in the park. I ask you to share, like, subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, X, Apple, and other premium platforms. In a moment, we'll be bringing you Jenna, our resident researcher. Hey, Jenna, how are you today?
Good. Hi, how are you?
Great. So the Adirondacks is 6 million acres in size, and we live in the foothills of the Adirondacks here in Fulton and Montgomery County. So tell us about why'd you get interested in doing a piece on the Adirondacks, and then tell us about some of the cases that you've come across.
Yeah, so it interests me, of course, because we live right in the Adirondacks, right outside of the Adirondack Park. We go hiking there. We've camped in the Adirondack Park. And again, you had mentioned it is 6 million acres large. That's roughly, to put in perspective, the size of the state of Vermont. So it is very large. It's also one of the most varied and rugged terrains in the eastern U.S.
So one of the things is you're not only going to be talking to us about cold cases, missing persons. There's some connections to homicides, but one of the reasons that it's such a dumping grounds, I would say, is that because of the size we talked about, because there's so many wells, there's so many streams and lakes and rivers, that if somebody knew the Adirondacks, and I'm not giving tips, I'm just saying if somebody knew the Adirondacks, this is the type of area that they may dump a body or may go to end their lives. Also, if anyone has concerns and suicidal ideations, they should call 911. They should go to a mental health outlet, a hospital immediately and seek support. So go ahead and tell us where you want to start.
Yeah, so again, I do also want to just touch on 80% of the park is forested. They say the density of the forest makes navigation difficult. The visibility is often limited to 20 to 30 yards in some areas. There's also, high peaks. There's very steep slopes. So to say, when you mention people going in, it's very easy to get lost, right? So not always is it that they're going to, if they want to go hike, or it's, again, very easy to get turned around, get lost. If you don't know the area, they do always suggest you have your GPS navigator with you while you're in the park. Because again, getting lost is easy in the Adirondack Park. So that brings me to a couple cases I wanted to talk about. One being Earl Dunckel. He was 21 and he went missing on the early morning of August 27th, 1993. Now, by all accounts, his family said he was, very friendly, kind, happy person. He also, by the way, went by his nickname, Eric. And he did have a sense of adventure about him. He did enjoy solo trips. He was one of 7 siblings, so he did enjoy his alone time, taking solo hikes, camping. That morning, he did leave to head to the Adirondack Park to go hiking. and he had his gear with him in his vehicle. They did locate his vehicle right outside of the park. That was in Lewis County, and there had been no sign of him since locating his vehicle.
Does the family have any theories?
So no theories from the family. I know, of course, like you had mentioned previously, some people, unfortunately, they do, possibly go to remote areas if they are suicidal. If the family does not believe that to be the case at all. Some speculations are that he parked his vehicle on the side of, where he was planning to go hiking. Maybe he got out to scope the area. And again, if it was a very dense part of the Adirondack Park, he could have gotten turned around. He could have easily gotten lost and quickly have gotten lost.
I think what weighs in against harming himself was the fact that all his hiking gear was there, and he expressed an interest in hiking. So those kind of things are little notes that you notice.
Right, they don't go hand in hand with each other, right?
And one of the other things that's important is there's constantly specials on Discovery and National Graphics where there's people missing in all the parks across this country. Some of them, like you just said, a bunch of them just go missing and their bodies may turn up later with other hikers finding them and the natural causes. Others are the result of foul play. And we see that a lot. There was one case study, I think, where they found 7 people that they think were murdered by somebody in a park at different times over the course of 3 years. So after Eric's case, you also thought that at the same time Eric's case was going on, there was a manhunt, and they got the guy that they believe killed a little girl, right?
Yes, so that would be Lent. He was accused of killing a little girl named Sarah Wood. I believe she was from Herkimer County. So in proximity to where they found Dunckel's vehicle, they believe that there is a chance that he could have been traveling through. And again, because there's no sign of him, they run through scenarios, right, of what possibly could have happened. And they, did speak about the possibility that he may have ran into foul play as well.
Okay. And go ahead and give us another one that you thought was fascinating.
Yeah, so we have another, his name is Leo DuFour. He is from Quebec in Canada. He was an avid hiker, experienced hiker. He actually completed 32 of the 46 highest peaks. So he wasn't quite a 46er, but he was absolutely making his way to being a 46er. He went hiking November 30th of 2024, and again, there was no sign of him after that. Again, he was alone. They did end up finding his remains May 10th of 2025. So while there is no official cause of death that's been reported, likely you can assume he succumbed to his environment and the harsh conditions.
Yeah, and recently they found another man, a retired trooper from up in the Adirondacks, and he'd gone on a hike, and I guess he hiked quite a bit, and there was a cabin that he used to go to, and the same thing. I think he was over 80 years old, I believe, upper 80s, and he was an avid hiker in good shape, and unfortunately he succumbed to a medical issue, they think.
Right.
Let me just take a quick break, and then we'll go on to some more lore of the Adirondacks. You're listening to the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet. Jenna, our local researcher on cold cases and missing persons cases, is with us today. I ask you to like, share, subscribe on YouTube, X, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and other premium channels. If you see these things or hear them, there might be something that triggers you, that you may have some information. Either you're hiking in the area, or somebody mentioned something to you years later or at the time, and you didn't think anything of it, but it makes sense now. Get a hold of the New York State Police at the crime tip, email, or call the crime tip line at the state police. All right, go ahead, Jenna.
So again, another thing I want to discuss too is what agencies, right, are in the park? Who, when someone goes missing, or who's in the park, who's patrolling the park. So there are two main agencies that do that, and that would be New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, also known as DEC, and the New York State Police. So where the DEC would go in to enforce, again, environmental recreational laws, whether it's four-wheeling, snowmobiling, littering, campfires, they're patrolling the park, they're making sure the park is being conserved properly. And whereas New York State Police, they typically come in when there is a major crime within the park, vicinity. And however, with that, New York State Police and the DEC, if there is, say, a major crime that happened, they're searching for someone, they do work together in that, because while DEC, of course, is familiar with the area, the terrain, they're able to navigate and assist New York State Police in these, manhunts, missing person cases, any crimes that happen within the park.
Yeah, generally what would happen if we got a call, and the easy scenario is a couple children wandered off from a campsite, we would we'd send deputies or state police if it's in our part of the park. Mm-hmm. We would notify NCON and the Rangers. The Rangers do the grid searching. The Rangers do the searching. NCON also is integral part of the whole search process. And then we call the fire department as well. We've been very successful if we get there quick enough, because we have the fire department just do their siren, and we don't do it nonstop. We do it a couple times and ask the people generally if their cell phone's still working. Did they hear the siren? It's hard to get a direction when you're in the woods as to where it's coming from, but it just means that if they do that, they're close to us. And then we ask them, do you see a trail? Is there anything? We had a case like that in Kroger Lake. Mm-hmm. We had a weird case 2 years ago where somebody said that there was somebody wandering around with a mosquito net and a funny looking hat on. They thought they were lost. And we went up there, and it was right on the border of us and Herkimer. And it was these research students from a college on bugs. I don't know, etymology. I can't think of the right proper word. My deficit in my brain thoughts. But so when we got in there, because they either called or somebody else called and said, it looks like we passed on the trail and there were some people that looked like they were lost, so we get a variety of calls that way. What else can you tell us? What other cases do you have that are of interest?
Yeah, so there was actually one recently back in September. There was a manhunt that occurred. It lasted about 12 or 13 days. It was a gentleman that they were searching for out of Cohoes, New York. His name was Anthony Bashan. Sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. He's 53. He was allegedly accused of murdering his girlfriend. They found his vehicle outside of Adirondack Park, only to assume he ventured into the park. Again, it's dense, it's forested. There's also many hunting camps and cabins that are used seasonally. So they were searching through cabins, camps, and again, after 12 or 13 days of no sightings of him, they were able to locate him walking right down the side of the road past Paul Smith's College, actually. So that tells me he likely was done with, hiding out in the Adirondacks, because it's not easy if you don't know where you're going, what you're doing, have the proper equipment with you. And again, at that point, it was getting cold. So he eventually did, I think he wanted to turn himself in, be found at that point.
We had a high profile serial murderer, Robert Garrow, and I've had some segments on him on this program. And he killed a person from Schenectady who was out camping with his friends, but he also killed a boy and a girl, left them on the side of the road, and he had allegedly, and there was a map with 20 or 30 X's. They couldn't find anyone. He never went for it, but he was at one point, he was 100 feet from the shoulder road, and he could hear the state police talking about him and talking about the search. And it's so thick, the brush, that they didn't know that. And then he was surviving by breaking into camps, taking food, and that was a multi-day manhunt. And they had a confrontation with him. He shot a corrections officer, and he went to prison. And when he was in prison, because he was in a wheelchair, he wasn't put in a maximum security because they thought he was in a wheelchair. He got out, and then he wandered into the woods down to the Catskills, and they caught him near the prison that he escaped from. But that was a very interesting case back then. And the reason that the kids were in the Adirondack Parks, they went to one of the campsites in Northville or Wells. And they were going to camp, and the place was packed. It was full. So they got turned away. So they went up the road a few miles, and one of the girls had a family in the woods, a family who had a camp up there, and they didn't want to stay in a camp. They wanted to camp themselves. And so they were in the woods with a tent, and he found them. And very scary for all of them.
Yeah.
So, you got anything else for us today?
Yeah. So another thing I just wanted to touch on too is, so we did also have a case. This was this occurred last year. Earlier this year, Melina Fertolin, she was a 9-year-old girl that was reported missing. She was vacationing in Lake George, New York with her father. She lived full-time with her mother in Canada. Her father owned a coffee business of sorts, and he traveled a lot. So he would he would take her on small vacation trips throughout the year. They did end up in Lake George, which is, it's in the southern border, Warren County, of the Adirondack Park, right where they say the park kind of ends and, the hotels, resorts start. But it's a, very popular outlet, and many people travel to Lake George. And he reported on July 19th, 2025, it was a Saturday night, by her father that they were at a rest stop and she went missing, and he believed that she was possibly abducted. And the search commenced right after that, and little things led up, and they looked at her father pretty quickly. They were able to find Melina, and she was located, unfortunately, deceased, and she was, again, within the Adirondack Park where they found her.
And her father is accused of it and charged with it at this point, correct?
Yes.
And then there was the other situation of the little girl who went missing from Moreau State Park.
Yes.
2 years ago.
Yes. Yep.
Right. And that's every parent's nightmare. They're in a campsite, kid wanders off and gets taken. And on that one, it was the person had lived near them, near the family.
Right.
I don't think there was anything to indicate that they were particularly close. They just lived near the family, and the state police and law enforcement were able to find her in his trailer. He did some unspeakable things, but she was alive. And the press handled it very well because they did not publicize her name or family's name. They tried to be very sensitive. But it's a nightmare. It's really a nightmare. You have kids yourself, and
right.
If people are missing, I mean, it's all out panic. You got to give your kids some freedoms. So we just caution you, if you go camping or hiking and you got kids with you, stay close, give them a whistle, encourage them not to talk to strangers.
It's easy parent to let your guard down. You're camping, right? You're in a family environment, there's other families, so it's easy to let your guard down a bit. But again, like you said, it's important though to always be aware of your surroundings. You don't know everyone who you come in contact with or who can come in contact with you. And then that goes too for when you do travel to the Adirondacks and you want to go hiking. You should sign your name and at the post right before you take off hiking. That way there's record of you beginning your hike, and you also sign out when you leave. That helps, it helps DEC, it helps law enforcement to give a location of where you are, where you last were. Then they have a place to go if you do get turned around, you do go missing, that they have a starting point at that point.
And how many people may be with you?
Right. Oh yeah, right. And when you sign in, you sign everyone's name in. Correct. Yep.
All right. Can you think anything else we should be telling our listeners?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. If you come to Adirondack Park is beautiful. It is. It's a wonderful place. It is, and many people again do travel here for the beauty of Adirondack Park. It's just with everything, you have to be cautious and aware.
Yeah. And this is just because it's so large, these things happen. So I want to thank Jenna for being with us today and for discussing these cases and some tips. And I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet. Our guest Jenna, who researches cold cases and missing persons cases, gave us a little insight on the local area, the Adirondacks, 6 million acres of the Adirondacks. Again, I want to thank Jenna, and I want to thank you for listening. Please like, share, subscribe on YouTube, on Facebook, on Apple, on X, on Spotify, and other premium programs. Thanks for listening to the Rich Giardino Show.
Like and subscribe to The Rich Giardino Show, part of the Elite Influencer Network, wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you next time on The Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet.